Today, I will tell you about artificial intelligence in the construction industry, and I saw that many of you are feeling drowsy, and I want to wake you up, to give you a wake-up call. Now, two questions. Please raise your hands, those of you who know what AI is. Many of you do know what AI is. So who is using the AI at the moment? Do you know? Someone knows it? I see one person, two persons. So who uses it in their work? And one more question, the third question. Who of you thinks that AI can be used in the construction industry? This conference has been organized by PSS, and it is an annual conference. We will have it next year and 2 years after that. So we are currently talking about the development in 20, 30 years horizons. For example, take a 5-year horizon. So probably in 5 years, who do you think that the majority of the presentations will be about AI? So I think that many of them can. So many of you hope that this will happen in 5 years. They told me to ask you and to tell you about some of the projects. There are many speakers that speak about BIM, and they tell us about BIM and different segments, about construction and building, etc. So I'd like to start with this slide, which is about the source of everything I'm going to talk about, is the BIM technology. The BIM technology is working in our company, and this is something that we need to use. It is some groundwork that we need to have to develop AI. Let's look at what AI is, the definition of the artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the scientific sphere that is aimed at solving a number of issues using computers, and these tasks are mostly often are addressed by humans. AI is based on machine learning, meaning that machines can learn using the data provided. Using a set of algorithms, it can handle and address a number of issues. Recently, we've been developing these algorithms, and we now have a new sphere, which is called the deep learning. This deep learning helps us be closer to implementing AI in real life, including in construction. I will not tell you much about machine learning because I will not have enough time for that. I just draw a number of examples, a couple of examples for you to understand what kind of spheres might apply this technology. The Deep Blue computer won the chess game with Kasparov in 1997. Another example is Google Translate tool. I do not allow my engineers to make such snapshots. This photo has a very low resolution, but I decided to use it anyway because in this photo we see the amount of milliseconds that is needed to perform a translation. It was in 2006, but now they don't do it because it happens instantaneously. One more example is the Jeopardy game. The game is similar to what we have in Russia, called Svoya Igra. The game is based on the IBM Watson, and so the IBM Watson won the two guys there playing the Jeopardy game. Of course, it is possible to win a chess game from a human, but everyone was sure that it's not possible for the Go game because the number of alternatives, the number of variations in the Go game is much higher than that of the chess. So that means that the number of operations handled by a personal computer is extremely higher. But anyway, a computer was able to win an AlphaGo game not long ago. Coming back to the theme of our conference, to the construction industry. The construction industry is quite relevant because it involves many people, builders, designers, and others. In this slide, you see some figures that show the challenges of the industry: waste, defects, the excess of time frames and deadlines, and also the failure to meet the expectations or to exceed the expectations of customers. So when I show this slide, I normally ask people to tell the percentage, how much investment, how many investments are sent to the development of construction companies. As many of you saw this slide in many conferences, about just 1% of investments like this happen, which is much lower than in machine building and in other industries. So the situation is not quite favorable. So what can we do to address it? There is this slide again. This is to say that we need to remember, we need to focus on a number of issues and about the implementing of the BIM technology. How to implement the BIM? To do that, we need to remember about such a trend, about this trend. So the trend is about having something new in the world. We need to have some programmers, some people that will be able to provide customized solutions to customers inside the company. Before that, programming was done by consultancies and integrators, but today we have such people, such specialists involved in construction projects as well. One more example. A major design company, for example, with 150 persons in staff, they've been implementing project for 12 months, for example. They have about 10 projects in the pipeline. In research and development stage, they have the average coverage for the area, about 40,000 square meters. And every person in this firm needs to address a number of tasks, to use their logics to address different kinds of tasks. Unless we program these tasks, people spend much time to address those tasks, and that causes many errors and mistakes. There are concrete companies, there are dedicated companies that provide the source for this data, and you can find a dedicated video clip online about this. There are firms that are focused on SAP and on modeling, and they also organize the programming courses. Coming back to AI. Why are we speaking about AI in this context? We want to have higher speed, we want to save money, and we also want to have more information about the asset, because the utilization of the asset is important, otherwise it might become a passive asset. What kind of tasks can we address with AI? First of all, it's design, reducing risks, security on construction site, and project management. Let's look at the first three classes of tasks, and then we will turn and look into project management, because project management is something that is related to the three previous ones. Generative design is something that is important in this context. We might have some particular company in Toronto using Autodesk. They use the software to plan the layout of spaces, and they take into account various factors. To do this, the noise level, the level of lighting, traffic of people, location of people next to each other. So they combine these factors, they devised an algorithm that is implemented by a personal computer, by a machine, and the machine selected several thousands options and variants on how this address can be addressed. After that, the best scenarios were selected, and in this slide you see that it's a real office that was planned based on the results of this selection, of this modeling. In Russia, many think that the BIM is not quite well developed, unlike in Great Britain and France and other countries. But in reality, in Russia, we do have some very good companies in this field as well. Very often there will be an international contest of international projects of our company, and I invite all of you to take part. I really think that many of the companies have good chances to win this contest. In this slide, there is another example, a very good example, produced by our company. It helps eliminate human labor at the project stage, at the concept stage. Now, after such a modeling, designers get automatic models at the concept phase with the necessary detailing, and they can use them in their further work. This video is available also online in YouTube, and you can watch it and understand the procedure. There are also times and money savings, and this is a real block, a real district inside Moscow. I'd like also to tell you that there is an Autodesk build space located in Boston. This is a facility where the only facility in the world that has a number of robots, industrial 3D printers, and other types of equipment. All this equipment can be used for free to produce and make some typical products or typical elements for construction. So it's a site, it's a facility where you can test innovations in construction. This is not about machine building and mechanical engineering. If we meet after my presentation, I can tell you more on how you can get there and have access to this facility. My advice on further steps: you can learn more possibilities, more features of the Autodesk Dynamo product. You can use the Autodesk product that you have to have access to more features. Risk reduction. In many presentations today, we have already heard on a number of products, for example, the Autodesk BIM60 Field. Now, such products can be adjusted, and there are different configurations possible for this products. In this slide, you see a snapshot of the field, which has a rich administrative functionality, and you can use it to enter many companies within one project. So you only have access to your particular area, and you can work in your area within the project and within the environment. Of course, this list might not be quite convenient. It can probably face some security issues or some representational issues, and it's probably not the best tool, the most convenient tool to use. We also have a product which is titled Insight, the Insight. So the field product that we already have will be renamed to build. The build title will include the inside product and the field product. The inside product can help you monitor and track all the mistakes, and prioritize them, and then address each of them one by one. So all these mistakes are grouped into categories. Some of them may be related to humidity or water usage. If they are related to this topic, they will have an icon in the form of a drop of water. We also have a list of subcontractors that we can handle, that we can manage using the tool. Using the tool, we can notify them on possible issues. We can notify them on the level of risks they might face in their work. We can classify all mistakes we might have. We can understand their source, their field, the timing, and the progress of addressing them. And we can tune and set up an automatic notification to the contractors and link it to the financial tools. Safety and security. We have the BIM model, which is ready, and we also have other sources of information, including videos, photos, data coming from drones, cameras. All this data is downloaded, is uploaded, and we can use this content and analyze it, handle it, and process it using the AI tools. We can process the AI tools using the video, for example. So in this slide you see the man going on a wooden surface, and he carries a hammer, and he is not using the relevant shoes, but he wears a helmet. Now all this data is transferred to the system. The system, using the machine learning, can understand the level of safety, and after that the machine can conclude and classify the situation. After that we may have an opportunity to do sampling using specific dedicated elements and other criteria that we might find important. We can have and generate such a table classifying the level of safety by risk factors. Some contractors might face big risks because their employees are not using proper shoes, or they're not wearing helmets, or they're not using the fencing. Yesterday I heard about a case where the construction site also needs to be monitored for theft activity. There are some items, unattended items on site that might be stolen. You can track all this using AI. You can drill all this down to figures, and you can report this to your contractors. So this is how it might look in future. Probably in 2-3 years we already might have such a product that could help you just put the phone of your smartphone in front of an object and understand the level of safety. Why is this happening? The Forge platform that we have, the BIM 360 products, have the API interface. So this API can be used to develop custom applications. These custom applications can be easily developed using the API. You can use it yourself, or otherwise your partners or integrators might also do this for you. Coming back and coming closer to the conclusion of my report, let's talk about the general picture. This is the picture showcasing a list of procedures. involved in the project management. Why am I using such a scheme, such a graph? Many companies already using such a model, and they are not using the BIM model in itself. This is a standard procedure that covers the whole process, and this is already available and used by many companies. We have talked about AI, so how AI could influence this graph in future. How can we derive some efficient solutions out of it? Let's move around this diagram from down to top. We have a project example. We go to the construction site. We find some risks and mistakes and also some comments. After we finalize the project, we have the ready facility, so we can understand by using this structure, by using this procedure, we can understand how to improve the future product. We can formalize these approaches, and we can transfer them up to the top, back to the designers, for them to consider collisions, to take into account various factors and options, for them to understand what kind of design solutions are causing such mistakes. By doing this, we raise the level of security, the level of the quality of design.
I'd like to finish with the same slide. What I'd like very much to see is that BIM and innovations that you are doing in your companies right now to be not just for the sake of themselves, so that you send a model to your clients and forget about it. What I'd like you to have is to use this data later on in different other projects to improve their quality, because data is an asset, and it's a very valuable asset. I was at a conference recently in oil and gas. That's a completely different industry, and today what I heard about AI is, and what I am talking to you about AI, is basically the same what people at the oil and gas conference spoke about. So the technology is the same, and unless we start doing this technology right now, like other industries do, our industry will not go anywhere. It will stay on the same place, whereas other industries will move on. So I encourage you to use innovations and be not afraid to use them, and we will help you. We, the Autodesk, will help you. Thank you. We have time for just one or maybe two questions. Before asking a question, I'd like to remind you about the questionnaires. If you didn't fill it or didn't hand it over, please give it to my colleagues, Olga, Ivan, and Mikhail. And you can also raise your hand with the questionnaire, and they will take it from you. Now, questions. Alexey Balyshev, Metallurgy R&D Center. Okay, AI. You say that in 5 years, half of the presentations will be about AI. Can we... Are we... So already now, we can use a product with an AI and upload a product into a project into an AI and get a result. Is it true or not? How do you work with an AI in your company? Well, it's a complicated question. I didn't... They told me that the presentation should be under 40 slides, so I didn't put it in my presentation. As you probably know, we have a web portal with prototype solutions. You can take part in alpha testing. It used to be called labs. Now it's called different. It has different name. I just don't remember which. I have a link on my laptop. So these solutions that are not finished yet, that are on the way to become a commercially available solutions, you can test them and try them. And if you have some data or some comments how to improve it, then of course you can provide these data to us. Next question. Dmitry Prishnikov, BIM coordinator, Spectrum Company. At the beginning of your presentation you said that Autodesk is now having machine learning and using it in several projects. Do you plan to provide access of the community to these machine learning capabilities? Because sometimes companies have large data volumes, and it's better to pool our data, because sometimes real estate developers just don't have enough data to enable machine learning themselves. Do you plan to do this, to share the data? If you, in your company, are not able to decide what's safe and what's not safe based on your data, and other companies have more data and they are carrying out similar projects like you do, and we collect statistics and make products that help to fix such problems, well, then it is possible. If this is what you are talking about. If what you are talking about is accessing to some open database with all the data in the world, then probably not. We are not going to provide such access to you. And the last one. Rest of the questions please keep for the Q&A session. Vladislav Yugai. Well, my question is a little bit philosophical, but I'd like to ask this question to you specifically as an Autodesk representative. Many companies move from 2D design to BIM right now. Can we start from scratch and start with BIM, skipping the 2D stage? Well, in short, I think it is possible. How? You should hire the specialists who have already done this in other companies. And, well, cutting the middleman and moving from directly to BIM, cutting the 2D stage. That's bold. Okay, let's give the round of applause.